Welcome back to another English lesson. In today's English lesson, we are going to talk about 10 pretty advanced words. Words that, if you know, might make your conversation a little bit better. And all of these words come from a story that I'm reading with my students in class called Fever, and it comes from chapter 4, the second part of chapter 4. So let's take a look. First one is refreshing. I have a couple definitions here for you, and I also have a sentence to help you understand this word. But if something is refreshing, you can see that it's making you feel less hot or tired. Below in the blue, refreshing is something that makes you feel cool and better, especially on a hot day. And the sentence I have for you is the cold lemonade was so refreshing on a hot day. Refreshing. Drinking water. Sometimes a breath mint. You know, your breath might not smell the best, and then you put a breath mint in. Refreshing. You might make that sound if something is refreshing. The next one. If you're in my class, I think this is a review. If this is your first time seeing this word, well, of course, it's not a review. But the word is thump, or in past tense, it's thumped. And that means to hit hard with a hand, a fist, or some heavy object. And you can see right there in the picture, not good, but this man is thumping that other man. So if you look at the bottom, thumped is when something makes a heavy, loud sound, like a big, strong heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. Maybe if you go to the doctor and the doctor grabs a stethoscope, big word right there, stethoscope, hard to say, but that is the instrument that allows a doctor to hear your heartbeat, and that heartbeat might thump, boom, 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 boom. You could thump on a drum. How about this? He thumped on the door to get their attention. Thumped. All right, here I need to make it a little smaller, some kind of ad there. Oh, speaking of ads, what about nuisance? You see that? A bothersome, annoying person? Yes, person can be a nuisance, but all of these ads right there, that can be a nuisance too. If something really bothers you, if something really bugs you, if something is really pestering you, it is a nuisance. How about this? The loud music from the neighbors was a nuisance at night. You can imagine if you are trying to get some sleep and your neighbor is playing really loud music, that would be a nuisance. If you have a little brother or a little sister and you have to share a room with them, I'm sure they are a nuisance, at least some of the time. All right, let's scroll down here a little further to the next one, and that is fetched. It is a verb, fetched, and it means to go get and bring something back. In the United States, if somebody has a dog, they might play a game called fetch. And if you look at that picture, it looks like that person is playing fetch with their dog. You basically throw an object, the dog gets it and brings it back to you. So you don't have to use this just with animals or dogs. How about this one? She fetched her favorite book from the shelf to read. Hopefully you like to read. That is one of the best ways to learn English, by reading a book that's not too difficult, but a couple new words on the page for you. All right, this next one, donned. You won't hear this very often, this verb that means to put on clothing. It comes from English speakers from about 100 years ago, maybe 200 years ago. So out of the 10 words, this one is used least often. Donned, to put clothing on. Sentence. He donned his jacket before going outside in the cold. Yeah, I have my jacket on still. I'm in my classroom, but it's pretty cold. Pretty cold. Didn't want to do that. I wanted to make it bigger. The next one. It can be a little difficult because we have two meanings for this word. But if you look at the picture, a column is a tall stack of something. Now, I've talked about the difference between stack and pile before. They're both very similar. A pile isn't really organized. You might have a pile of clothing in the corner, but a column is more like a stack. So you might have a column of books in the corner, or you might have a column that holds up a building. If you're in my class, we also had the word pillar. Pillar and column can be used in the same way. Can be, not all the time, but it can be. The next one, we have a really big ad there, quite a nuisance. Concede. All right. This one can be a little difficult too, because you might see, I forgot to read the sentence for column. The concrete column was important in supporting the building of the school. Yeah, you don't want the building to crumble. You should put a column there. Keep it nice and straight. All right, this one's tough. Concede or conceded. There is another definition for conceded, spelled a little differently. Let's not talk about that today. We'll talk about it later. Maybe you can look it up. I don't want to confuse you. We're just going to talk about one way. Conceded. That means you admit you were wrong. Not easy to do. Not easy to do. But if you see in the picture, I think that person is even saying like, okay, you're right. Concede. A lot of times, in the United States, I am filming this on November 2nd. Next week, there are elections. Politicians are running against each other to maybe become mayor of a town or governor of a state. When that one candidate realizes they lost, they will concede the election. Basically saying to the other person, all right, I know you won. It's your job. It was fun. We had a fair fight, but you won. Concede. I think that happens in sports sometimes. People will concede a loss. The team will just realize, okay, you're better than me. You won. In everyday life, if you concede something, you admit you were wrong. How about this? Even though they disagreed, maybe they were having an argument. Even though they disagreed, they conceded to compromise. Compromise might be a big word, a word you don't know. Bonus English. A compromise is when two sides agree. So maybe you have to give something up, but a compromise is, okay, we can work together. This might be the last one, is it? Is it the last one? No, we have 3 more. All right. Another hard one here, because we have 2 ways to pronounce this. We're only talking about one way today. Okay. I think these are out of, did we, wait, hang on. We might have missed stroll. We did. Okay. Stroll. We'll talk about lead in a minute. Stroll. This is a pretty easy word. It's just another way to say walked. But you walk in a nice, slow, calm, pleasant way. You might hear stroll in the park. Walk in a slow, relaxed way. And if you look at that picture, those people certainly look relaxed. They even have a dog walking with them. They have heavy jackets on, but they don't look too cold. How about this sentence? We took a pleasant stroll through the park in the evening. Yeah, relax. You're not running. You're not stressed. And if you hear a stroll in the park, it's an idiom meaning something was easy. Young people do not say it was a stroll in the park, but you might hear people who are a little older than I am say, it was a stroll in the park, which is another way to say it was easy. All right, here's the next one. And it is pronounced lead. And it's a heavy metal, lead. Sometimes you will hear lead pipe. That's where I hear it most of the time. This can be a very confusing word. Maybe I can even do another lesson on this, because lead and lead, and there are a lot of different spellings for it. But in this case, we're just talking about a really heavy metal. And you might hear lead pipe. All right. It's not an expensive metal like gold or silver. But in the United States, some pipes for plumbing, like when people use the toilet or the sink or the shower, some of the pipes might be made from lead. I think if they're older. I don't think pipes in 2023 are made from lead. I could be wrong, though. If you watch the previous lesson, I said I didn't know if flamingos could fly. And I was told in the comments, they can fly. So, I don't know. Lead pipes, if you know, let me know. And the last one. Perspiration. Perspiration. Now, could you just say sweat? Yeah. But perspiration is a little more advanced. Now, if you don't know what sweat means, let's talk about what it is. So, sweat is when you get really hot and water starts coming out of your skin. The verb is perspire. So, because it was so hot in the classroom, I started to perspire. That's not the case here. It's actually quite cold. How about this sentence? After playing soccer, his face was covered in perspiration. So perspiration is the noun. It's the actual drops on the skin. To perspire is the verb, also meaning to sweat. I hope you learned something. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.